Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is Monday review time, but before I go any further, do not adjust your sets. This is not a drill. There will be no Tuesday match preview at the end of this video because for the first time in about 5 or 6 weeks, we have a free week. So I will be looking back at the weekend draw with Doncaster Rovers. There'll be a little piece on an opposition player who featured at the weekend and heavily influenced the outcome of the game. And then there'll be a little piece on our playoff chances and Steve Evans, who became the subject of conversation on social media over the weekend after our good friend Gabe Sutton, who runs the brilliant Football Lab website, tweeted about Steve Evans' comments regarding our budgets. But yeah, first of all, a look back at the weekend draw. Mental first 25 minutes, wasn't it, against Donny? We were 2-0 up inside 240 seconds through Jordan Graham's composed finish and then Verdane Oliver's equally a sublime goal as well. Really well worked off the training ground, that second one. Little short throw into feet, back to Ryan Jackson, who stood up a really good ball. And Verdane just doesn't miss at the moment, does he? In fairness, the first goal's decent as well. It's a great bait from John Akindi, shows his pace and power to push us through the lines. Then plays a good ball out wide to Alex McDonald, and his cutback initially looked like it was going to be Carl Dempsey tapping it in, but it went all the way through to the far post. And like I say, Jordan Graham showed some great composure to steer it into the far corner and put us 1-0 up inside a minute and a half. But you've got to give credit to Andy Butler and his side. They didn't change the way that they played. We'd had a couple of warnings, hadn't we? A couple of times we had big gaps between our centre halves, and that was a concern first period. Also, Stuart O'Keefe was left a little bit exposed in the middle of the park as we went in search of a third, which probably would have killed it off. And twice there were balls played in between our centre-backs, and twice Omar Bogle got away, and twice, thankfully, we were saved by an offside flag. But eventually they got back into it. James Coppinger with a really good cross. It's a good header from Tom Anderson. Can we pick him up a little bit better? Probably, if we're nitpicking, but it's a good delivery and it's a good header. And then quickly 2-1 became 2-2, and James Coppinger, the Peter Pan of English League football. It's another smart finish. Jack Bonham had absolutely no chance, and Donny were really good, and they were on top at that stage of the game as well. And I think if that had been a couple of seasons ago pre-Steve Evans, we'd have probably folded and ended up losing the game 3-2 or 4-2. But credit to us, we stood up to it. We managed to regroup and reshape and settle back down, and we ended the half pretty strongly. Plenty of corners, crosses into the box, long throws from Ryan Jackson. But the frustrating one for me is the Robbie Cundy chance at 2-0. If he can manage to steer that in, I think we go on and win the game pretty comfortably, don't we? But it's one of them things. I'm not going to dig out Robbie, who's been absolutely brilliant since arriving in January and has played a huge part in our upturn in form, which has got us within touch of the top 6. Second half was one-way traffic. Absolutely battered them, didn't we, from start to finish? 8 shots to their 1. Completed more passes, created more chances. The only disappointing thing for me was that we didn't force the keeper into a save. But on the flip side, it's 2 goal line clearances that have prevented us from going in front. First one from Jordan Graham's cutback, Alex McDonald right-footed shot, sort of scuffed it into the floor, but it looked like it was still heading in the far corner. And I think it was Tom Anderson stuck his head on it to get it out for a corner. And then the one with 10 minutes to go. Jordan Graham had switched side after a couple of substitutions, hadn't he? And got it onto his right foot from the left-hand side and whipped in a really wicked delivery that the keeper didn't know whether to come and try and grab it or stay on his line. Sort of did neither, hit the post and come out to Carl Dempsey. And for all the world, it looked like he was just going to slap it into the net. It's unbelievable defending from Joe Wright to fling himself at it and get a kneecap on it that sent it over the bar for a corner. It's fine lines, isn't it? I think if we win 3-2, no one's talking about the fact that we've thrown away a 2-goal lead. I suppose it's no different to the fact that Doncaster fans have probably ruined the fact that they didn't start properly and found themselves 2-0 down inside 5 minutes. So I think we deserve to win the game. Doncaster fans will probably say that it's a well-earned point, and I wouldn't argue with that too much. But just based on the second half, we absolutely battered them, didn't we? We just couldn't stick it in. It just wouldn't fall for us at the right times. And it's another point on the board, but saw a few things on Twitter after the game saying that we cocked it up and stuff like that. I thought that was a bit of an overreaction. And for me, if we don't make the playoffs, which is highly likely, it's not games against Doncaster that are going to cost us a place in the top 6. For me, it'll be the games that we've drawn at home to Rochdale, lost at Wimbledon, lost at Northampton, lost at Plymouth. Sides that weren't in any type of form when we played them. Lost at home to Burton. And that was Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's first game in charge. All right, now it doesn't look like such a disaster considering the run they've gone on. They only lost on Saturday for the first time under Jimmy Floyd. But at the time, it was disappointing. And I think, if anything, if we do look at games as the ones that we're going to rue, it'll be them types of ones, not drawing with a side that, you know, were in the playoffs at the start of the game. And we've gone and competed with them. We've competed with Lincoln. We've competed with Portsmouth and Charlton and Sunderland in recent weeks and months and been really good. And it's great to see us standing toe-to-toe with the best that this division can offer. And it's still a long shot, the top six, but we're still in there punching, aren't we? And still giving ourselves a fighting chance. And we've got a good week off now, which is great to see, because I think there were a few of the lads blowing come the end of that game. We've really had to put in a shift over the last few weeks with all these Saturday, Tuesday games. Verdane Oliver and John Akindi both at times looked like they were struggling with muscle problems. So the 7 days rest is not going to do anyone any harm at all. And it'd be interesting how these teams that have to play all these games in hand and have to go Saturday, Tuesday for pretty much the rest of the campaign cope with the fixture backlog. And we can benefit from weeks off now, which is great to see. And we'll see where it takes us. All we can do is concentrate on our remaining 4 home games and our remaining 5 away trips and pick up as many points as we can and give ourselves the best shot available. But one person I do want to mention, and I haven't done an in focus for quite a while, is a player that came off yesterday on the hour. I did a small video during my match day live yesterday, but that's this fella. That man I'm talking about is James Coppinger, the Peter Pan of the English Football League. I've called him on numerous occasions. Absolutely brilliant again yesterday, and I was quite relieved when he was withdrawn after 60 minutes in Kent. He'd scored a goal, he'd set up a goal to get his club back from 2-0 down to level terms at 2 each midway through the first half, and he's been an absolutely brilliant servant, not only to Doncaster but to English football. Started off at Darlington, I think, as a kid, went to Newcastle as on schoolboy terms, and it didn't really work out for him there, unfortunately, but he's been pretty much a one-club man since 2004, aside from one short loan spell away at Nottingham Forest. To rack up over 650 games for one club is absolutely incredible. He scored over 70 goals in that time as well. And to be still pulling the strings at the age of 40 after 17 full seasons at the same football club is absolutely astonishing. Still keeping younger, talented players out of the team as well. And it's interesting to see that after a rough trot of form that Andy Butler's gone back to his tried and trusted senior players, and Coppinger still fits the bill, still runs the show. I mean, he's never been out and out quick, I don't think, so he's not really lost that because he never had it to start with. But his footballing brain is second to none. And in terms of bona fide EFL legends, I don't think you're going to find many better candidates than James Coppinger. So if this season is to be his last in the Football League and he does retire, I know there is a hashtag going around amongst Donny fans on social media for one more season so that he can play in front of a crowd again and in front of the Donny faithful. But if he goes out at the end of the season, then all the best to James Coppinger and whatever he does after he's retired. Who knows? Doncaster still in with a shot at the playoffs. If they end up in the top 6 and get to Wembley, what a fitting end that could be if he got promoted back to the Championship, because he's played for the club in League 2, in League 1 and in the second tier as well. And to get back there in his final game would be fairy tale stuff. Obviously, as a Gills fan, I want us to have an influence on that top 6 and try and gate crash it ourselves. But I don't think many would begrudge James Coppinger that if it did happen. So all the best to him in his retirement. Right, that's enough about him though. And now on to our playoff chances. As I said earlier on in the vlog, it's not games like yesterday that are ultimately going to cost us a place in the playoffs if we don't get there come the end of the season. It'll be the games against Rochdale at home, Burton at home, Wimbledon away, Plymouth away and Northampton away that will end up costing us. Those games that we played and lost against sides that we should have been beating. They were in no type of form at the time and we come unstuck, unfortunately. But we seem to have rectified that problem, and it's been great to see us go toe-to-toe with the best the division can offer over the last couple of months. Gone to Portsmouth and drawn, gone to Lincoln and won, gone to Sunderland and drawn, beaten Ipswich, gone toe-to-toe with Doncaster yesterday and taken a lead. And I think if we had won it 3-2 second half, I don't think there's many people that would have begrudged us the 3 points, but we have to take it on the chin. And the disappointment of being pegged back and use it to fuel us as we go again next week against Hull City, which would be another monumental task. They're top of the league at the moment and top of the league for a reason. But looking at the remaining fixtures, I still think it's going to be a long shot for us to gate crash the top 6. There's the always the old adage about having points on the board, but You've got to look at teams like Blackpool that are, you know, only a point or so behind us with 4 games in hand. Can we really see them dropping that amount of points, such as their current form? I know the other way to look at it is we've got them points on the board and we can now benefit from having a rest every midweek, whereas a lot of these teams are going to be playing Saturday, Tuesday for pretty much the rest of the campaign. So they may suffer burnout. But you'd imagine if they've got bigger squads, they'll be able to rotate and rest and get through games that way. But we're giving ourselves a chance, like I've already said. The 4 at home look winnable, don't they? The remaining games, Wigan, Northampton, Shrewsbury and Plymouth. Looking at comparative league table placings. But even if we pick up 12 points available there, that takes us to 66. We've probably then got to find between 6 and 8 points away to get into the top 6 and stay there. And then 5 away trips are going to be really tricky. We've still got to go to Hull, to Peterborough, to Oxford, to Blackpool and Burton. Burton lost for the first time yesterday under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank after an incredible unbeaten run where they barely conceded, let alone lost football matches. My only hope there is you can maybe target that one if by the time we play them they're safe and their players are somewhat on the beach mentally. Blackpool will be tough, although we've been up there a couple of times in the last couple of seasons and picked up decent points. I remember Tom Eves scoring a late level there a few seasons ago. We won 3-2, didn't we, in the last couple of minutes last year through Brandon Hanlon's late header. Oxford doesn't hold much hope for me. We barely score at the Kassam, let alone win football matches. I think you've got to go back to about 2013, the title winning season in League Two. The last time we won at Oxford. Hull and Posh, they're in the top 3. They're both really good sides. But we went to Peterborough last season, didn't we, and picked up a credible 0-0 draw and probably should have won the game based on chances created. But as I've already mentioned, we're giving ourselves a chance and it's in our hands because we've still got to play teams in and around us. It is still a small possibility rather than a probability for me, but it certainly makes for an interesting end to the season. It certainly keeps us entertained and it's nice to be still talking about top 6 chances with 9 games to play. Usually at this time of the year we're talking about how many points we need to find to keep ourselves away from the bottom 4, and in that respect Steve Evans has done a brilliant job, hasn't he? He's been the topic of conversation on social media over the last couple of days. Our good friend Gabe Sutton, who runs the wonderful Football Lab website and knows a lot about all things EFL from the Championship down to the League Two. He put a tweet out a couple of nights ago about Steve Evans' comments regarding our smallest budget in the league. Steve Evans knows we haven't got the smallest budget in the league, I imagine. I think he's just said it to create some sort of mantra, some sort of label, and us against them type of situation where our players think, oh, we're underdogs and anything we achieve, we have to work a little bit harder for, and perhaps we deserve it a little bit more if we do manage to achieve it, whatever it is, relatively speaking. It's got a few fan bases involved, it's got a few Gill supporters involved, and it's made for some very interesting conversations on Twitter over the last 24, 48 hours. It's been good fun on the whole. But like I say, I think it's mind games. We've heard the words compulsive liar chucked about by certain fans. We all know about his past. But at the same time, he's a winner at this level and he's had success at this level with Crawley and Rotherham at his previous clubs. He took Peterborough to 4th, I think it was. He was 6th or 7th when he was sacked at London Road a few seasons ago, which is a little bit strange. But as I said to a Peterborough fan on Twitter, I suppose with more money to spend, which he certainly had at Peterborough, comes more expectation. At Gills, the budget is small. It's certainly not the smallest, I would imagine, like I say, but it is in the lower echelons of budgets in that division, and we're certainly not able to compete with the teams at the top end, the likes of Peterborough and Portsmouth and Sunderland and Ipswich and that type. Excuse me, but like I say, I hope Gabe's enjoyed himself. He put the tweet out and he's probably sitting there with his feet up eating his popcorn at the moment, watching everyone else. I've taken a few pelters from fans of different clubs. The other thing this weekend has been how we play the game. More teams not liking the fact that we've outplayed them in our own style, and that is direct. We go from back to front pretty early, and I've got no problem with that. It's all about gaining points and winning football matches, especially at this time of the season. But I think we're far from one-dimensional, and it was interesting yesterday looking at the stats again. And it's interesting, like I say, that this tweet about budgets only came out. People only start to take notice because we're doing well and we're bloodying noses of opposition, and we're going to the likes of Lincoln and winning, and we're going to the likes of Sunderland and Portsmouth drawing, and we're beating Ipswich at home, and suddenly it becomes a big issue. No one was worried about what our supposed budget was back in November, December, when we weren't playing too well. We was inconsistent and we was 13th, 14th, 15th in the table. But now all of a sudden it's a massive thing because we're 8th or 9th and threatening to gate crash the top 6 and threatening to ruffle a few feathers of the more fancied sides that do certainly have more to spend in terms of player wages and transfer fees. But like I say, it's made for some good fun on Twitter this weekend, and long may that continue. As long as it's all done in the right way, I'm always up for a bit of a conversation and a bit of a debate and a bit of banter and that type of thing. And long may that continue. I think Gabe is one of the guests on the Third Tier podcast on tonight at 8 p.m. We go live. Myself and Tom, we're joined by Gabe and one other guest as well. So looking forward to that. I don't think Ben's available this weekend. So continue to check out and follow the Third Tier. Always doing excellent giveaways, free match passes when they hit milestones in terms of followers. Continue to download the Fan Hub football app. There are over 2,000 football fans on that now. It is growing and growing and going from strength to strength really quickly. Harley and the team are doing a fantastic job. It's good fun. You can pick your own team, become manager each week. You gain points for that. You gain points for reading club-related articles, checking in remotely at the moment, and obviously it'll take off further when we're able to return to stadiums. Right, that's enough from me. I hope your first Monday back at work isn't too stressful after the weekend. Be back on Thursday to preview Hull away. Fingers crossed that we pick up no serious injuries during the week. After the game against Doncaster or in training, and we'll be set and fully refreshed and recuperated for another tough test. But until then, enjoy your week and up the Gills.